Well, I'm joined here by Bronwen Maddox, who's Director of the Institute of Government. And I just want to pick up on the whole issue of trade, because what has just been said in that news conference, how will that affect actually what happens, what really happens in any negotiations?
I think it's a statement of what the US position has been pretty consistently under the Trump administration, which is that they seem very friendly, but they want everything on the table when they come to do a trade deal. And even so, they may press the point, much harder than countries that thought they were their allies would think. I mean, Mexico's one who's been really pushed against the wall on this.
Now, one of the things that the President made clear was on the table was the NHS. Now, it's probably worth just showing you in the last few minutes that the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has been on Twitter, and he's tweeted a direct message to Donald Trump, and there it is. Dear Mr. President, the NHS isn't on the table in trade talks and never will be, not on my watch. Bronwen, does that complicate things in any way? You can see why Matt Hancock has done it, but we're into, if you like, our own election period here, aren't we?
We are. No Prime Minister or Prime Ministerial candidate can afford to say that the NHS is on the table in any way, that part of a trade deal would be that US companies could bid for big parts of that.
And Theresa May made that point. She was actually, you could see she was very uncomfortable.
The UK position has been absolutely clear on that. The US position has been also clear that it's one of the things that they would want in play in return, for example, access to their services market, which matters an awful lot to the UK.
So they're both right, in effect.
They're both right in effect, and there could be some, if the politics weren't so incredibly sensitive, which they are, and the NHS weren't so totemic, but it is, you could say that there's some room for fudge there, because the NHS does buy in quite a lot of what it does from private companies already, and is that much of a change? But the politics are what they are, which is that the NHS is has this kind of sacrosanct image in the UK, and no Prime Minister is going to want to seem as if that is in play.
That's the grown-up politics, if you like. There's been a lot of playground politics going on in the last 48 hours, and again, this time with Jeremy Corbyn, Donald Trump saying, where I come from, he's been nasty to me, so I don't want to meet him. How helpful is that when we're talking about the leader of the opposition in this country?
That's right, and I think both Jeremy Corbyn and Donald Trump would have to do some serious thinking if Labour were to win power. Labour has said many things that are anti-American, not just Jeremy Corbyn, but some of those around him, and would really have to work out quite carefully what they wanted to do with the UK's big ally. But no, of course, it isn't helpful for the US President to start sniping at assorted politicians, including very prominent ones in another country.
Quite interesting that Donald Trump went out of his way, made the point that he felt that Theresa May's role, her legacy, had perhaps been underplayed. He said, she had done some very hard work and perhaps had been underestimated.
Yes, he did say that. I think he was trying hard to be nice. He said some things that are less complimentary about her negotiating skills in the past, and all this was surrounded by a lot of fluff and posturing about his own skills in deal making and what he would or wouldn't have done, and so on. But I think he was trying to be graceful. He was standing, there next to the Prime Minister in her last days of leading her own party.
Speaking of the word graceful, how do you think Brussels, how do you think those across the Channel will have viewed what he had to say about the UK's future with the EU?
I don't think it will have changed their position a lot. They may have raised an eyebrow or two at his idea that a country like the UK can do better independently, that it's a great country, it needs its independence, it needs its own borders, it needs to be free of all this kind of trappings and constraints of the EU. So, they won't have liked that bit. But they will also question whether his prescription, which might work for the US, would actually work for any European country, including the UK.
Very quickly, I mean, we heard a lot of talk. Did we actually get anywhere of substance?
No, but I don't think we were expecting that. I mean, this is, after all, a very curious position of a big state visit right at in the waning hours almost of a Prime Minister's authority, if there is any left to that. And so it was always a question of what really could be extracted. And inevitably, a lot of the attention has gone on which of her candidates, her successor, he might bestow the grace of his meetings on. So I don't think we could have expected a lot of substance, but it's certainly revealing about position and tone and so on.
Always good to see Bronwen Maddox. Thank you very much.